What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Pack-A-Day postgame show. The Packers have defeated the Houston Texans. What a unbelievable and just kind of stunning game all the way around. 24-22 Green Bay. Disjointed kind of all the way around, but for both teams, you knew this was going to be difficult for either team. For Houston, for Green Bay, this was not going to come easy. Both of these teams, you could tell, wanted this one a lot. These teams, despite being completely opposite sides of the conference and not really having any real familiarity with each other, seemed to really not like each other. Both games wanted to win this a ton, or both teams wanted to win this a ton, and it was a very crazy game. None of it really made a ton of sense. Green Bay dominant at taking the ball away, -3 in the turnover battle. The team that lost the turnover battle by 3 won the game. CJ Stroud, who is phenomenal, unbelievable, fantastic, doesn't throw for 100 yards in the game. Joe Mixon completely tears apart the Packers' run defense. The defense in general, though, for Green Bay, the one that is not exactly always the one that's bringing Green Bay up, kind of won this game for Green Bay. The offense comes up with a couple of massively explosive plays, but doesn't really ever get into any sort of rhythm. But when it matters the most, they march down the field. But of course, the biggest surprise is the team that kicks a game-winning field goal is the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers get a game-winning field goal. Brandon McManus, his first attempt, that's not an extra point at least, his first field goal is a game winner from almost 50 yards out, a little bit less than that, obviously. But just nothing about this made any damn sense. None of it made any sense. It was all like the script was completely upside down for pretty much the entirety of the game. The one thing that did go according to plan, of course, is the AI is now 7-0 on the season in predicting the Packers games. It's still one of the most unbelievable, stupid things. It's absolutely stupid. We shouldn't even be talking about it. This should have never been a thing, but now it is 7-0 and it is absolutely a thing. So I just hope it keeps being right. If you haven't watched it yet, go watch it because you're definitely going to be rooting on that it continues to be right. What a day, what a game, awesome weather. That's another thing that doesn't make any sense. It's 80 at Lambeau in mid-October. Nothing about this game made any sense, but it was really, really fun. It was an awesome game to be a part of. As many of you know, it was my son's first game, regular season game. He's gone to some preseason stuff earlier, but his first regular season game. So that was absolutely perfect, getting to see that comeback win at the end. And it's interesting. Like, we can talk about all three of these phases. I'm sure that we will. And of course, I'm going to get to all of your super chats and questions in just a moment. I think when you look at this game from an offensive standpoint, right, really up and down game, some big time plays, but when they needed it most, they came up with a big play and a big drive to get that game winning drive together. And then you look at the defense, right? I think mostly a pretty awesome game. I don't know how you would hold much against this defense. Yes, they did allow that drive at the end. You would have loved them to maybe get off the field a little bit sooner, give Green Bay maybe a little bit more time in that situation. But still, I think overall the defense deserves a ton of credit. But they did allow that drive at the end. And then the special teams, this is such a weird game from the teams, right? Because you've got a penalty early. You've got the muffed punt, or not the muffed punt, but the punt where Keyshawn Nixon clearly should have fielded it, but he doesn't. It hits off Ballantyne and they get unbelievable field position from that. You've got the Jaden Reed catch in the end zone that he brings, like just some really bizarre stuff from special teams. But Daniel Whalen was unbelievable in this game, like arguably the MVP of the game, not only from a punting standpoint, but getting that hold down perfectly for McManus at the end as well. Just an unbelievable game from Daniel Whalen. And then, of course, you've got the game-winning field goal, which is on the special team side of the ledger as well. So a very bizarre game, some up and down from everything. These are the games that you find ways to win, right? It's not always going to be perfect. The other team gets paid too, and they made some big plays. I thought Houston's defense was awesome in this one. Despite all the injuries, I thought it felt like they were everywhere. Felt like when Green Bay ran the ball, they knew exactly how to, like, where Green Bay was going with it and how to stop the run. I thought Green Bay tried to spread them out horizontally with a bunch of end arounds and reverses, and then they tried to counter inside. It didn't matter. It was like Houston was all over all of it. And Green Bay struggled to kind of get any sort of rhythm and consistency in the passing game as well. So lots of things to go over in this one. I will get to as many questions as I possibly can for you guys. And this should be a very, very fun post-game discussion. So let's start off with some super chats here. Cheesehead Joey, appreciate that. Blitz game was on another level today. That's another thing we didn't discuss is Eric Wilson. How about Eric freaking Wilson just stepping up and playing some big time ball in this game? He became the Mike when Quay Walker went down. It seems to be the one big injury from this game is the Quay Walker concussion. Hopefully that's not anything too long, but man, Eric Wilson came in and did a phenomenal job. And then yes, Jeff Hafley, he deserves so much credit in this game for what he was able to accomplish. And it was just foot on the gas, no brakes, no stopping. We are going to come after you. And CJ Stroud just never felt comfortable at all. And I just loved what they were doing from an intensity standpoint. You had Xavier McKinney coming off the edge. You had double A gap blitzes all day. You knew, by the way, like to the point where I'm thinking in like late in the game, I'm watching this live, obviously, and I'm thinking like they have had success blitzing on every third down. I'm like, can they keep doing it? Like eventually, like the Texans are going to catch him, right? Like they're going to figure it out, and they're going to like maybe get a quick bubble screen to the outside, and they'll whatever. Something like you can't keep calling it, right? And at the same time, in my head, I'm like, I'm going to keep calling it because like it is working every time. It was really, really fun to watch, and just seeing these linebackers attack aggressively. First glance looked like Rashawn Gary had his best game of the year. I thought the defense was fantastic in this game, and I thought Jeff Hafley deserves a ton of credit for the aggressive style of game plan that he called and went with through the entirety of this game. Like I said, never taking his foot off the gas. I love Cooper and Wilson. Absolute meat missiles. Cooper, Wilson, and are we getting two Wilson? Are we Emmanuel Wilson and Eric Wilson? Sorry, are we doing double Wilsons here? But I'm assuming you mean Cooper, Wilson. I don't know who the third one would be, but either way, yes, I thought the linebackers very, very nice job. Now the run defense, I'm gonna have to go back and look at a little bit closer. Obviously, Joe Mixon gashed him a few different times for some big gains, and you'd like to see that get cleaned up a little bit, but I think overall it's funny because I talked about pregame of like, all right, you got to pick your poison. Do you want to let CJ Stroud kind of beat you? Do you want to let Joe Mixon beat you? Like, you can't really stop both. It's really difficult to stop both against this Houston offense. It was very clear that Green Bay said, we're not going to let CJ Stroud beat us. And if that means Joe Mixon's got to have a few extra big runs, so be it, but we're not going to let CJ Stroud get comfortable. And that was their job number one. That was their job description for this game. And so you'd still like to see them be a little bit better against Mixon in the run game. But overall, again, I'm not going to nitpick the defense for this one because it really felt like for the most part, they were the group that was the most consistent through the course of the day for this Green Bay Packers team. Andy, I'm glad you and your kid got to see such a great game. Cheers, bud. Jean-Marc, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it a ton. And yeah, those are those long-term memory builders, right? There'll be a lot of days in my life moving forward that I would do anything in my power to go back to days like this. So try everything I can to not take these moments for granted because I know how quickly they go. And I know, you just can't get them back. It's a once in a lifetime sort of situation. So tried as much as I could to enjoy that a little bit more and just be present in the moment. But it was a ton of fun. Enjoyed the hell out of it with them. And thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that a ton. Devil's Coins, what are your thoughts on the trade deadline? Member for 8 months. Yeah, we've talked about this a lot over the course of the last couple of weeks. I still don't see a 1A position that is like calling out to me of like Green Bay has to go and do this. I think Goody will look at smaller opportunities to upgrade this roster, maybe 1 or 2% here or there. We'll see what's available. I don't think they're going to do anything yet. I think it would be, if anything, closer to the trade deadline. And again, I think you'd look at maybe these incremental changes. I saw the reports of maybe teams being interested in Andre Dillard or Preston Smith. I don't think you're going to, when you're a playoff team, or expected to be a playoff team, I don't think you're going to sacrifice the depth of your team. Now, I know Dillard is not even active on some games, but he was active today. And again, you just can't find that offensive line depth in the middle of the season. So now if some team calls and says, we'll give you a third for Andre Dillard. Yeah, you're going to be like, how quickly can I get that third round pick? I will send you him right now. I will drive him over myself if I need to. But if some team's offering like a 6th, 7th round pick for Dillard, you're probably just like, you know what? I'll just keep the depth because I'm probably going to need it at some point. And same thing for Preston, right? My guess is Preston probably has more value to Green Bay than he probably does with other teams just because he knows the system and everything like that. And I can't imagine teams are actually that interested in Andre Dillard and Preston Smith. Of all the players on the Packers roster, the two people that I did not expect to see is like, hey, teams are calling for Preston Smith and Andre Dillard. Those definitely were not the two. And again, I wouldn't think it would be anything of any major value coming in Green Bay's way. So if it was, great, you take them up on that. And then you flip those picks for somebody else that can help your team, right? But for the time being, I don't really expect Green Bay to be ultra active. And listen, for the most part, what do we get? And I know we've had, 3 trades this past week, but we usually don't get a ton of trades around the trade deadline, a handful here and there. I don't expect Green Bay to be ultra involved here. Again, maybe a small incremental increase, unless there's a major injury in the next couple of weeks at a major position. And hopefully that's just not the case, right? Because nobody wants to see that. Puerto Rican Packer, thank you for becoming a brand new YouTube member. Appreciate that a ton. We are so close to 500 memberships. This close. So get those memberships in, everyone. I always appreciate the support a ton. Daryl Johnson, do we need help moving the ball without big plays? Long-term, no, I don't think so. Today, it was not a great offensive effort. Again, give some credit to Houston's defense too. It's a very good defense. I know they're beat up, understand it, but they still have some big-time players on that defense, and I thought they balled out. I thought they did a really, really great job, especially considering the injuries that they had. I think, sometimes it's weird. Offense is weird in that sometimes you just get in that rhythm early and you never get out of it, and it just feels comfortable for the entirety of the day. And then other times it just feels like you can never really settle in any major way. And it just felt like in this game, Green Bay could never really settle in. And they made some explosives, right? The Dontavian Wicks touchdown's a massive play. The Tucker Kraft ball from Jordan is just unbelievable and just throws an absolute seed. And there was definitely some other, like Romeo Doubs, massive game in this game, coming up with some very clutch catches in some key moments. Strong hands Romeo Doubs is alive and well. But overall, they couldn't consistently move the ball. But like we're talking, and I think this is worth noting here too. And I get a lot of this was due to some of the big plays without really, the defense or the special teams putting them in a great field position due to turnovers or due to, a great punt return or kick return or anything like that. On a bad day for the Packers offense, where it just didn't really feel super right, they're still putting up 24 points. Like 24 points for some of these teams in the NFL right now is like a good day of offense. And I'd be willing to bet, like, let's see, Patriots had 16 points today. Falcons had 14, Titans had 10, Bengals 21, Browns 14, Dolphins 10, Colts 16, Giants 3, Saints 10. Like if we look at some of these like scores throughout the league, like in Texans 22. So the only team so far, and I know everyone's not done yet, Jacksonville, Seattle, Buffalo, Detroit, Minnesota, Philly, Denver. So 7 teams that have scored more than the 24 points. Like if that's your bad day on offense is still putting up 24 points on a day where you threw 2 picks and just never got in rhythm, but you're not doing too bad. Like Green Bay's offense is still very, very good. I don't think this was indicative of what we're going to see long-term from this offense or anything like that, but you would have liked to have seen it be a little bit more connected, a little bit more connective tissue through the course of that game where they're able to run the ball and then set up play action. Just didn't get there, but sometimes you got to win ugly and you got to move the ball when it matters most on a 2-minute drill when the game is on the line. And Green Bay did. They picked up a win, and I will take it every single time, especially against a team like that. Glenn, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate the refs letting them play. Thankfully, they just let them play. I was thinking this exact same thing during the game. I thought this was an extremely well-officiated game, at least at first glance. I didn't see anything that was super egregious. I didn't see anything where I'm like, oh my goodness, what are you looking at? Like they did let them play. I thought in a heavyweight fight like this, Houston, Green Bay, you want to kind of stay out of it and let them dictate the terms on the field. And I thought the refs did a really, really great job of that. So nothing controversial that comes to my mind at all in this one. It just felt like a very clean officiated game. Puerto Rican Packer, when was the last time you remember feeling this good about a Packers defense after 7 weeks? Yeah, it's probably been a while. I'd have to really think back. I don't know if it was, I think it's probably since the Super Bowl season, but like overall, defense has not exactly been Green Bay's MO. I don't think it's perfect. I think there's still a lot of things that they need to clean up. Run defense was a part of that today, but I thought this was a really good stand overall from this Packers defense in this game, meaning the entirety of the game, not just one drive or anything like that. The big question for the Packers has been, well, what if you can't get the turnovers? Can you survive on defense if you can't get the turnovers? Can you be good enough? And the answer today was yes, a resounding yes. And if you look at, how I would kind of do this, right? So let's look here. The Texans' first field goal, the Texans started 1st and 10 from the Packers 11-yard line. That field goal is not on the Packers defense. They force a punt. Then Houston takes over 1st and 10 from the 11 again. And then the Texans are able to punch it in for a touchdown. That was on the special teams. That to me was not on the defense. The field goal drive that they gave up. All right. Do you know how many yards they allowed on that field goal drive? 23. Remember, they started at their own 43-yard line. They allowed only 23 yards. That to me, that drive on the special teams. Then you had the drive where Houston starts at their own 45-yard line. Like, so great field position. Now, they allowed 55 yards on that drive and they allowed a touchdown. Let's just say I'll give that one against the defense. Like, maybe you should have held them to a field goal there or whatever, or maybe you give 3 points of that to the special teams. But I'll say, all right, they allowed one touchdown on that drive. Then you get a punt, a punt, a punt, a punt, and then a 13-play, 45-yard field goal drive, where again, they only went 45 yards to score points on that drive. So I'll give them the 3 points for that. I would argue that the defense was only responsible at best for 10 of the 22 points in this game. Like, that is a winning performance. And even if you would have told me, if you would have said going into this game, just full stop, Andy, the Packers defense will allow 22 points to the Texans, even if all 22 of them were the defense's responsibility, I would have said that's probably a winning performance. And like, I'm not saying they would have won the game for sure, but I would have said that's a winning performance from the defense. Then that's up to the special teams and the offense to make up for the rest of it and somehow find a way to get 23 or more points. I would have thought that was an acceptable performance from the Packers defense. And when you really dive into it, again, I'm probably putting 10 points on the defense in this one and 12 on the offense and special teams. So not a bad day at all from this Packers defense. Vex, good to see you. I don't want to be that guy, but J-Love is concerning so far this year. I love the aggression, but sheesh, today was ugly. Good bounce back, though. Let's break this down because I think this is an interesting thing to dive into. First of all, touchdown to Dontavian Wicks. Awesome ball. Unbelievable read. Awesome ball. All right, good. The throw to Tucker Kraft. Unbelievable play. All right, absolute seed. Great catch by Tucker Kraft, too. Throws a dime to Jaden Reed down. Maybe not a dime. Like, it's still a tough catch for Jaden, but right before the half, that should have been a big time explosive play to Jaden Reed, which should have got Green Bay more points before the end of the half. Leads the team down the field for a game-winning field goal when they're down by 2 and they absolutely have to have it with the game on the line. Lots of good in the Jordan Love ledger in this one. Now let's look at the bad. You have a interception early in the game. I think that this is a bit more of a really good play by the defense. Do you need to have vision on the throw ahead of you? Yes. Are you expecting the Jalen Petrie to come off the receiver? I'll be totally honest. I've not watched this I'm with no lifelines here, right? I watched this live in the stadium and have not gone back and watched anything yet. So I could have maybe seen this wrong, and I'll be able to obviously speak more educatedly on it as I go on. It felt to me like this was a great play by the defense. Or more than anything, like, that's one where how I evaluate this is like, can I understand what happened on that play? Or was it this awful boneheaded decision? On that one, he's trying to get the ball out quick. Dobbs just runs a quick out. He's easily open. Petrie, he knows is on Dobbs on the other play. He comes off of Dobbs, jumps it, and it deflects it up, and it's an interception. That one, I'm willing to have more forgiveness on. I don't think it was this unbelievably, oh my God, what an idiot quarterback. I can understand what he was thinking there. Is it a plus play by Jordan? No, it's still a negative, but I can understand it. I don't think there's like some, oh my God, look at this gunslinger, he doesn't know how to control himself mentality. I think he read it, threw it, defense made a great play, tipped it up, it's picked off. It happens. It absolutely happens. You have to live with it. All right. The second interception, it's a bad play. And probably a bad decision and a bad throw. You probably get double negatives on this. I'm watching from the end zone, so I can see this open up. When Jordan threw this, it looked like he was throwing it to Kalen Bullock. Like, it looked like he was like attempting to throw to Kalen Bullock. I'm like, oh, he just threw that right to the defender. Not a great throw. Even if he's like sees the underneath receiver, or the receiver cutting across, I should say. Even then, he's got a guy trailing him and the safety's there, and he underthrows it. Like, it's just all the way bad. Just all the way bad. That's the one that you need to clean up. You can also argue on the very final drive, he could have thrown a pick on that drive, right? Like, the linebacker sitting underneath doesn't really see the linebacker, gets tipped by the linebacker. I'm not sure that the linebacker would have had a great chance to make a pick on that. That would have been a crazy play. But anytime it's deflected, you know there's that opportunity, and the linebacker deflects it, Dobbs deflects it, safety or corner deflects it, defensive back deflects it, and probably got a little lucky with that, just with it falling incomplete, right? So those are the three, and maybe I'm forgetting one, and somebody correct me in chat if I'm forgetting any other ones here. To me, you have 3 turnover worthy-ish plays. One I can live with on the first one, don't have a major issue. One that you don't want thrown at all. 3 that I wish he probably would have maybe just saw the linebacker a little bit earlier, but I can see again what he's thinking there. Yeah, so we got Dillbuck 32 coming in on me. Anyone else have any other one that I'm missing here? But just off the top of my head, those are the 3. That in a game where he has all those positive plays on the plus side of the ledger, right? The one big negative is the throw down the field. If he doesn't throw that one, I don't think we're even talking about this. Or if Petrie doesn't make an unbelievable jump on the play, are we talking like I don't see this as like this. We're talking about a 2 interception game. All right. Like these happen a lot in the NFL. Like, and I'm not excusing it entirely. I'm not saying that, especially that second pick is not a really bad decision and a really bad throw. Like you can't make that. You got to live. It's a first down play. You got to live to see another one. That's the one that I have the biggest issue with, but I don't think that this is like we have to start a narrative of how Jordan Love is this unbelievably gunslinger quarterback or anything like that. It was really one throw that I thought was just a really bad decision. And in the course of a day against a really good defense on a play, he was ultra pressured. If there was one throw that he really made, that was more of like a YOLO ball. All right, we'll get that cleaned up. I'm not ultra concerned about this long-term. He made a ton of, not a ton, but he made some really big time throws in this game. And I would still argue the positive plays outweighed the negative by a pretty decent margin in this game, because those are 2 pretty big touchdown throws and a game-winning field goal drive at the end. So again, this narrative that Jordan's too big of a gunslinger or he doesn't know how to take it, we saw in the entire second half of last year. Like that's not a small sample size. He did a great job of taking care of the ball. And I am sure with Jordan, there is a little bit of wanting to make these big plays and live up to the contract. And there's also a natural learning curve that a lot of quarterbacks go through, where you kind of test out your own superpowers when you start getting good of like, what can I get away with and what can I not? And he's learning right now what he kind of can't get away with. And I trust, as I tweeted out during the game, I trust Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur, and especially Tom Clements unequivocally. They will get that reined in. And he has all of those plus traits on the one side. And even if there's one of those negatives every day where he's just throwing, or every game where he's just throwing one of those YOLO balls. And sometimes, guess what? His offense comes up with it for him too. That you just need to take out of him a little bit, just a little bit. Can we just rein it back a little bit? But we're not talking Jay Cutler here, guys. We need to pump the brakes a little bit on that. We're not talking Jay Cutler. This is still a plus game for Jordan Love, in my opinion. All right. Good conversation, though. Appreciate that one. I guess it's just a one-way conversation. You guys don't really get to defend yourself, but nonetheless. All right. I'm jealous of your kid. Hell of a first game, lifetime memory. Not quite as good as mine, I must say. The Brett Favre, Kittrick Taylor, back of the end zone touchdown. I think I have one up on him still, but not a bad way to start his first game that he's gone to in the regular season. That's for sure. Rest of the team put a lot of pressure on the defense today, and the D showed up big, even without the turnovers. This D is feeling legitimate. We talked about the pressure, right? Have to get more pressure. Defensive line isn't doing their part. Got to come up with some big plays. They came up with them in this game. I saw a stat. I retweeted. It sounded like, I think it was from Mina Kimes. According to Next Gen Stats, CJ Stroud has been pressured on 50% of his dropbacks today. Now that was at 2:20 p.m. So that wasn't the entirety of the game. But at one point in this game, he was pressured on 50% of his snaps or dropbacks. It's a good day for the Packers defense. Brandon Callis became a new YouTube member. Brandon, thank you for that. Appreciate it a ton. The Texans messed up big time throwing an out route on that last third down. That was a weird play. That was a very weird play. I thought these are the situations that are so hard for a coach. So, and Matt talked about his decisions at the end as well, which I'll get into right after this. So you have to be so careful there if you Houston, because if you turn the ball over, right? If you turn the ball over, the game's basically over. Like you are in potential game-winning field goal range, and you really want to make sure that you've got at minimum the opportunity to kick that potential game-winning field goal and then trust your defense after. But you also have this situation where if you get a touchdown, your win percentage, or at least your opportunity to win the game, goes way up. If they can somehow get a first down, which is, around the 1 or 2 yard line, they have the ability to get a first down. If they get a first down and the clock runs, Green Bay has to call a timeout. Houston can kneel the ball 3 times bring the clock all the way down to 3 seconds and kick a 17-yard, or well, I guess a 20-yard field goal for the game winner. So they had the opportunity to get a first down and completely ice it. A touchdown gives them a much better opportunity to win. Or even if you just run the ball, you at least give yourself the opportunity to get the, Green Bay to use their last timeout. And you know that you have the opportunity to kick that field goal. Throwing an out route for like 6 yards, there's no, the risk reward there is brutal, right? The risk is that it's either incomplete or out of bounds and you don't get the clock running. You don't make Green Bay use their last time out. The risk there is that it's thrown a little bit inside and it's maybe even intercepted and the game's over right then and there. And the reward is nothing. There, you gain nothing. You don't need like the 6 yards or whatever that might gain. That's not going to do anything for your field goal attempt. Like Fairbairn's amazing. He doesn't need the 6 yards there. It probably is about the worst possible situation. And to me, I would have probably wanted to do something that maybe give me an opportunity for the touchdown or the first down, or maybe I get a PI. And again, I'm in a position where I can just ice the game away. But again, you don't also want to take the risk. So these are very difficult decisions for coaches. So I don't hate the idea of kicking the field goal and trusting your defense, but I would have liked then just to say, we're just going to hand the ball off here, give it to Mixon, who, by the way, like I wouldn't even be surprised if Mixon, the way that he had been running the ball, that might be your best opportunity to get a first down or a touchdown on that play. And then you make sure that Green Bay utilizes their timeout and you pretty much, negate any real turnover opportunity. That's probably what I would have done in that situation, or gone like screen to Mixon. And then on Green Bay's side of things, like Matt talked about at the end of like, once we got into like somewhat makeable field goal range, the big thing we wanted to avoid was getting out of field goal range. So they let the clock run and then they don't really keep their foot on the gas. And like, those are difficult decisions too, because I get it. You don't want to get pushed back and all of a sudden make it that you're in no man's land, right? Like you can't attempt a field goal. Now you got to go for a Hail Mary or something. So, on the other hand, I'd like to have seen Green Bay get, 15 more yards to make that a much more, easy field goal. But I understand what he's thinking too, of like, I don't want to risk it. I don't want to turnover. I don't want a big sack here. And I want to make sure that I, for certain, no matter what, am going to get a field goal attempt. So like, these are the difficult decisions that coaches have to make. And, you have to live with them, right? Because if Matt, once they got into like 49-yard field goal range or whatever it was, if he like drops back to pass aggressively and all of a sudden there's a pick or a sack, like Matt's going to get ridiculed for that decision-making process. And if they miss a 49-yard field goal and they didn't have the opportunity to get closer, like Matt's going to have to live with that. These are the very difficult decisions where there's no right answer in real time. Like I think everyone thinks like, here's the obvious what you should do. And it just doesn't exist, because you can be aggressive and say, hey, we're going to keep our foot on the gas here. And it can completely backfire on you. Or you can say, hey, we're going to be cautious here, but it leads you into some very long field goals that maybe don't get made. And you just hope that your players can go out and execute and be put in the best position to succeed. And they do so. And that's what happened here with Green Bay, is they got the game-winning field goal. And that was massive. But those are very difficult positions to live in. And there's, like I said, there's no perfect answer in real time. All right. Do you think Jeff Hafley will get head coach offers? I don't think so this offseason. We're going to have to wait and see how good this defense can be the rest of the year. Like, we don't know. It's where we're way too early. And I don't think we can say like, yep, this defense has arrived or anything like that. I'm not there yet. Like this, you need to show consistency for a season. And I don't even think there's been consistency through 7 games yet. So it's trending in the right direction. No question about that. But we're a ways away before everyone's crowning Jeff Hafley, right? Even if this continues to be the defense for the remainder of the year, that's 1 year. I don't think he gets that, maybe he gets an interview, like a one-off interview here or there, but I don't know that he gets any sort of offer or actual job. But in the future, if this defense continues to perform well, I definitely think he has head coach ability and could end up as a head coach in this league, but we'll have to kind of wait and see. Evan English, new member. Appreciate that, Evan. I thought 87 had another great game. Seems like when the offense isn't clicking, he's the guy that can consistently move the sticks. AI is 7-0. I thought Dobbs was fantastic in this one. It felt like every single one of his catches were strong hands, contested, very difficult, or high degree of difficulty. I thought he was phenomenal. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal. I don't know what he ended up with. He was, man, Commanders 27-0 on Carolina. Whew, Carolina is bad. Who freaking lost to them? Like, who lost to the Panthers? Sorry to get off track here. The Raiders. Of course, it was the Raiders. Unbelievable. But anyway, sorry, I digress. Dobbs 8 for 94, just on 10 targets. Just a massive, massive game. I thought he was phenomenal on this one. Alex Malkow with the cheeses. I love it. Victory cheese. 3rd and 1 reverse was just bad play calling on our side of the field. Matt LaFleur needs to be better. Go Pack, go. Yeah, it's not the ideal call in that situation. I will absolutely give you that. I will say this. Number one, usually getting the ball in the hands of Jaden Reed is never a bad idea. Number two, a lot of times what teams do in those situations on a 3rd and 1 are they jam the interior and they say, you're not going to run up the middle. You're going to have to run to the outside if you want to get this. We're going to plug the interior, especially knowing they're going against Josh Jacobs. My guess is that, and this is what teams do, right? They see something on tape. We're like, oh, the Texans always do this on 3rd down. They always jam the middle and make sure that you can't run in the middle. If we get this to Jaden, not only are we going to pick up that yard, we might have the opportunity to pop one for a big gain here. If it works, everyone's saying, oh my God, look at the genius of Matt LaFleur. Look how, he calls a reverse to Jaden Reed on 3rd and 1 and he goes for 40 yards. Look at this, he's unbelievable, right? And if it's a predictable Josh Jacobs handoff up the middle, and Texans do maybe what Green Bay saw on tape, and they said, you know what, they always clog the middle, and Jacobs gets stuffed for no gain, everyone's going to be like, oh, that was the most predictable play call. Everyone knew it was going to Josh Jacobs. Like, what are you doing in that situation? Like, maybe call something else. Call it, so like, again, it's very easy to nitpick in real time. Do I think that's the best play call in that situation? I don't, but I guarantee you they saw something on tape that said, if we do this, it can work. And I can tell you in real time, I was in the end zone view. Again, I get to see kind of these plays develop perfectly. There was a hole there. And when it first happened, I'm like, oh, he's got this easy. And it just happened that the guy made a tackle. Jaden couldn't quite get upfield enough and it gets stuffed. And then you look like an idiot when you call a reverse on 3rd and 1 on your own side of the field. But more often than not, getting Jaden the ball, good decision-making. And more often than not, I trust Matt to catch something on tape if he's calling something like that. Just didn't work out. Again, you live to see another down. It is what it is. And probably more often than not, you just give it to Josh Jacobs and see if he can pick up the 1 yard on that play. And more often, he's probably going to get it. I find Mr. McManus to be of high character. I don't want to get into that. I'm happy you made the field goal. I will leave it at that. And I appreciate the chat, Dennis. Rob, I watched Anders hit a 55-yarder today. Go figure. Is that what happened? Where are we at? We are at 14-3 Chiefs and a 55-yarder for Mr. Anders Carlson. Unbelievable. Go figure. Hey, Green Bay's kicker made the game winner today. That's all I care about right now. Good for Anders for making his 55-yarder. What a week for McManus. Cleared of false allegations, hits the game winner. Lambeau leaps in his first game as a Packer, vindicated. I would not go quite that far. It was, I don't know if it was settled or what, but he wasn't like completely cleared. There was a agreement made to some extent. That doesn't necessarily mean that he was guilty. That's not necessarily an admission of guilt. But I wouldn't go quite as far to say completely exonerated. I don't even want to talk about this anymore. I'm done with it. I've said if he did do something, I hope he gets the comeuppance for it eventually. If he didn't, hope it all is cleared and goes away. It is what it is. He's the kicker, and he made a huge kick today. And I think that's the story today. Dylan feels like this defense has a vision and a heart again. Eric Wilson is the man. Whalen is a monster. Great teams find a way to win. Saw that today. It's weird because I saw the panic at halftime, and these things are, I get it. Fans are fanatics. Fan is short for fanatic. I totally get it. I see it every single game and every single year, the ebb and flow. Like Keyshawn Nixon biffs a punt that he clearly should have caught, and everyone wants Bisaccia fired, despite, again, Whalen and being phenomenal, and you get the game-winning kick at the end. Everyone wants somebody fired as soon as something bad happens. Like, they're down by 5 at half, and it felt like the world was burning. And I'm just like, they're down. They had 3 turnovers in the first half. They played completely like C- D+ football, and they're down by 5 to a really good team and are still completely in this. Like, let's see how this plays out. Like, I even tweet, I'm like, breathe, Packers fans. This is always going to be a tough game. And, the roller coaster ride of fandom is, and I know it's even even more on Twitter, right? But like the roller coaster of like fire everyone, this is unacceptable. I saw people questioning LaFleur again. Like this is what happens with Matt LaFleur coach teams. Like it's halftime against a really good team and you're down by 5 in a game that you didn't play your best half. I'm like, let's see how they play in the second half. What do you know? They come out with a win. And that same fandom, and I'm not calling anyone out specifically or anything like that here, but that same fandom are now going to be like, Matt LaFleur needs to be the coach of the year. Like this team is going to the Super Bowl. And like, it's never as bad or as good. I promise you, it's not. Like there's still a lot that this Green Bay team needs to clean up, despite it being a very exciting win against a very good Houston Texans team. And I will take this win every time, but there's a lot that they need to clean up. And at halftime, even when they were down by 5, I looked at that game like wholeheartedly. I'm like, there's a lot of really good stuff in that first half. Like some of the stuff that they did on offense and some of those big time throws by Jordan, what the defense did in the first half, what Daniel Whalen was doing. I'm like, there's some really, really good stuff that's going to carry over into future games. And we saw it again. Like there's nothing holding this Green Bay team back besides Green Bay. Like they're the ones that are responsible more often than not for the things that go bad against them. Like there was a couple plays that CJ Stroud made. There's a couple plays that Mixon made in this game and you tip your cap a little bit. But for the most part, Houston was in this game because of Green Bay's self-inflicted wounds. They kept beating themselves up. This is still the youngest team in the league. They will learn over the course of the year. They will get better. This team is very talented. And when they get out of their own way, we see what they can accomplish. And there's nobody that's going to stop them when they have the ability to play their best brand of football. But it doesn't just happen like that. A lot of these mistakes are what young teams have to go through to ultimately get better and be the best team that they can be on the other side of it. It isn't just this utopian, yep, they're this really good team now, so they're just going to win every game easily for the rest of their like, it doesn't work that way. Does it need to be better at times? Absolutely. But the roller coaster of Matt LaFleur sucks and he's not a disciplined coach and fire Bisaccia and I never want to see Keyshawn Nixon in a play. It's just like, oh my God, guys, just breathe for a second. Just breathe for a second. It's going to be okay. And they won the game. It's a huge win for Green Bay, a huge win. And so many people are deserving of a ton of credit in this game. So yeah, I get it. I understand fandom. I really, really do. But we can be better as fans. I promise you that we can be a little bit more rational and understand that the other team's going to do some good things too. And the other team's going to do some really stupid things too. And Green Bay's going to have some bad plays through the course of a game. Like this is football every single week for every team. You are going to have a mix and match of things that your own team does really well, that your own team does in really stupid way, that the other team does well, that the other team does stupid. And you just hope that your level of stupidity is not as bad as the other team's level of stupidity, and that your ability to be really good is better than their ability to be really good. But there are going to be things every single week that piss you off and make you mad and need to be better. The next time Green Bay plays a perfect game of football will be the first time any team in the history of sports has played a perfect brand of football. So, yeah, you just have to kind of live with some of that stuff and just see how it plays out in the end. And like I said, even at halftime, even when they did not play a really great first half, there's a lot that I was taking away that I'm like, this is going to carry over. There's some really, really good stuff here. And so we'll see. But liked overall that Green Bay came away with a win and didn't think it was ever as bad as it was maybe made out to be, as it was, as everything was on fire apparently at halftime. Fading West 307. I think Jordan leads the league in interceptions despite missing 2 games. I'm not super worried, but something he needs to work on. No question about it. No question about it. And I totally believe that he will work on it and he will get it cleaned up. And we'll see a stretch of games again where he takes much greater care of the football. Just that's totally how I see it. I don't think he's going to end the year with 30 picks or 24 picks. Like he'll calm it down. I promise you. I guarantee it. Agree with your number 10 answer, but is leading in interceptions. Yep. Needs to clean it up. No question. MVPs of the game were Evan Williams, Craig Foreman, and Lynn Brooks. I don't know what, are those all? I don't know what that means. Actually, I thought maybe this was a whiskey thing because of Evan Williams. I don't know what Craig Foreman and Lynn Brooks are. I don't know what Jay Foreman is. I'm assuming Craig Foreman and maybe Lynn Brooks did something. I don't know. I'm assuming these are people you know, Jay, but I'll take your word for it. J. Cole, member for 1 month. J. Love is also leading in touchdowns too. Good point. Good point. Classic Lambeau win reminded me of a mid-90s game with the physicality from both teams. I really enjoyed this game. I think this is one where if you go back and watch it, you're going to enjoy the intensity of it. Wasn't always perfect, but you found a way to win at the end. Big time clutch kick, big time clutch drive. Defense came up with some big stops when they needed it. this is a fun game of football against, two very, very good teams that are only going to get better. And both the Texans and Green Bay will learn from this one. No question about it. JLem 768. If you could rank Love's performances this season, last week would easily be number one. All right, I got to look at my grades here. This makes it easy because I just go out and grade it. So I don't know the one for this one, but probably this one. Or sorry, last week I should say. Probably last week with the 4 touchdowns. So that would be week 6 would be the best. And then I would say this one in Minnesota's were probably pretty equal, where you've got some really big time stuff, but also some poor interceptions. So I would say those are probably pretty equal. We'll see what the grade comes out as. And then probably Philly. And then I thought his Rams game was the worst with the pick 6. So that's how I'd rank them so far. All right. Alex Malkow, can you grade the Josh Jacobs signing through 7 games? Yeah, I think it's been more than worthwhile so far. Whether or not they should have just kept Aaron Jones, or, could they have gone with I don't even know, but I think it's worked out well. I think Josh Jacobs is a key part of this team. I think he's ran well, had the nice touchdown today is the receiving touchdown. You love to see the receiving touchdown, but yeah, I think it's worked out well. And I think it'll continue to pay dividends for Green Bay as the rest of the season goes along. What can we do to help teams hire away the Minnesota and Detroit coordinators, or will teams be shy due to the Tua thing? I don't know if Flores gets another job. I mean, Ben Johnson will absolutely get it. It's like he's already had opportunities, right? Like he just has to figure out one that he actually wants. So that's the big thing for Ben Johnson. But Ben Johnson will get a head coaching job eventually. And then I don't know if Flores, my guess is Flores gets another chance at some point. Not sure if it'll be this year, but we'll see. And then I do think Aaron Glenn will have some opportunities as well. So I would bet at least one will, and maybe 2 or 3 potentially could. Preston, the rest of our schedule is absolutely no joke. No, but this is probably one of the easier ones coming up. Not that Jacksonville is completely easy. They came up with a big win today, or at least a win today. It's not a big win when you beat New England, but they came up with a win today. But Jacksonville next week, and then it gets pretty damn tough, right? So Jacksonville on the road, which has always been a place where Green Bay has not played well, by the way. And then Detroit in Green Bay, bye week, at Chicago, which we know how much Chicago is going to care about that game. San Francisco's a tough game. Miami, we know Tua will probably be back, and Miami's going to probably be playing a better brand of football by then. At Detroit, at Seattle, those will be 2 very tough games. New Orleans at home looks like maybe the easiest game remaining. And then at Minnesota and Chicago at home. So yeah, get your wins now and appreciate them, because they're going to be tough to come by. Got to win in Jacksonville next week. They're coming off of 2 back-to-back international games, so I can't imagine that they're going to be like 100%, totally ready to go. It's a noon game, but Green Bay needs a big one in that one, pick up the win, and then I think the heavy lifting really begins after that. And 5 games in the division still. ASAP Mamba. What is Matt doing with Jacobs? There's series where he doesn't even touch the ball. Why pay Jacobs $50 million if you start certain series with Emmanuel? Not just today, by the way. It's been all year. I have no issue with that whatsoever. ASAP Mamba. First of all, I think Emmanuel Wilson's had a really good season, and you cannot just run Josh into the ground. I know you're paying him a lot, but you want him to be completely healthy and still ready to go at the end of this season too. You want him just as functional or more functional in week 17, week 1 of the playoffs, week 2 of the playoffs. That's when you're like, you really want to be able to grind him if you need to grind him, and making sure that he's not ground into the dirt early in the year. And he's already had a couple games where he's been heavily featured, I should say. No issue with Wilson getting drives. No issue with Chris Brooks getting drives. And I trust those running backs as well. I trust Emmanuel Wilson a lot. So, are there situations and plays where they can get Jacobs the ball maybe a little bit more? Sure. What did he end with today? I think a lot of today, they couldn't really get the ground game going all that much, which definitely played a part, and just couldn't get into a rhythm on offense. Would I like to see him have more than, well, he had 17 touches. I mean, so he had 5 targets and 12 carries, and he caught all 5 targets. So he had 17 touches in this game. That's not like a egregious use of Josh Jacobs by any means. Like, I would say you probably want him touching the ball like 20 to 22 times. Honestly, anything between like 18 and 22 is probably like that sweet spot. And he was at 17. So he had like 1 under where I would ideally like him to be. So no issue with that whatsoever. Alex, who would Coach Andy Herman give the game ball to? Daniel Whelan would get one for special teams. Eric Wilson would probably get one on defense. and Romeo Doubs would probably get one on offense. Just off the top of my head, that's probably where I'm going. Doubs, Wilson, and Whalen. We'll see how the grades come out on offense and defense, but in real time, Wilson stepping up for Quay and then playing as well as he did, that's probably where I'm going on the defensive side of the ball. And then offense, I just thought Romeo Doubs was as clutch as it gets in this game. So that's probably where I would go. Baby QB, boy, did Hafley bail out the offense and special teams. Woo! I think this is a defensive win. I think if you're saying how did Green Bay win this game, you're saying they won on defense. And I do think there were a couple times where they clearly bailed out especially on that first drive, bailed out Jordan Love after almost throwing a pick six on that play. Able to hold to a field goal there was huge. Like I said, I would only put, maybe 10 points on the defense on this one. So this was a defensive win. I still think the offense did enough stuff, not enough stuff, but obviously enough stuff because they won, but like two big time touchdown throws in this game. And obviously another touchdown to Josh Jacobs as well. Like offense did some good stuff. And then on special teams, there was the really brutal play with Keyshawn not getting it. And then they backed themselves up to the 4-yard line. I'm not saying this is perfect, but Daniel Whalen was incredible. They make the game-winning kick. It wasn't all brutal from the special teams either. So there's always gray area there. I thought special teams did some good things. Offense did some good things, but this was definitely a defensive win. Can't get in Love's head, but what goes on when working on lowering interceptions? Is it a conscious and known risk he's taking on those interceptions, especially today? Again, the big one is the throw down the field that was picked off. That's the one that you just got to get cleaned up. The first one, again, is there's a cost of doing business, as Matt LaFleur likes to say on some of those. I don't have a major issue with that. Defense gets paid too. They made a good play on that one. I thought he could have been more careful on the throw over the middle on that final drive. That potentially could have been picked. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more vision on where he was going on that one before throwing it. I think there just needs to be a little bit more understanding from Jordan of when and when not to maybe take those chances. On a first down, when you've got the ball and it's not awful field position, you don't want to just throw one up on that play and have it get picked off. That's going to change the momentum of that situation a little bit. And Daniel Whelan's kicking the snot out of the ball. So even if you have to, go, 3 and out on that drive after taking the sack, like you can pin them potentially deep in their own field position or in their own side of the field. I think that's the one that I really like to see Jordan that's the one I wanted to see him clean up. Just don't throw that ball. Take the sack in that situation. It's okay. It's okay. Take the sack. And that sometimes it's tough for QBs, especially young QBs. I don't think this is going to be something that is a long-term major issue for him, but that's the one I really want to see him get cleaned up. The other ones the other one I should say, I can understand to a little bit more of an extent, but can't throw that one deep down the middle of the field. David, what happened when Green Bay got the ball at the 25 after first Houston kickoff? Thought the refs say they kicked out of bounds. Why didn't they not get that instead of a touchback at the 30? So the penalty for a kickoff out of bounds is a yardage penalty, and it's from where you kick the ball off. So on a normal kickoff, when you kick it out of bounds, you get it at the 40. But remember, Green Bay had the penalty on I don't know if it was after the touchdown, right? So they had the 15-yard penalty. So Houston was kicking off 15 yards closer. So they intentionally kicked the ball out of bounds, because by kicking it out of bounds, they would only get the ball at the 25. If there would be a touchback, you would still get it at the 30. So Houston actually did a really smart thing in that situation, intentionally kicking it out of bounds, knowing that Green Bay would get the ball at the 25-yard line. So it was just a smart play. They could have tried to pop it up where the Green Bay would have had to return it and try to pin him deep. Instead, Houston just said, you know what? We're good. We're just going to kick it out of bounds. You get it at the 25. So right interpretation of the rules. Houston was smart to do it. And simple as that. All right. Boyan G. It finished good, but shouldn't Packers use their first time out before the 2-minute warning? I didn't have a major issue with that, because I guess you get I don't know. You could make an argument there. I kind of like holding on to the timeouts in those situations, just because you don't know exactly what's going to happen. And sometimes you get into situations where they could, like, the Houston knows that the 2-minute warning is going to come anyway. So it could incentivize them to throw because the ball is going to stop, or the clock's going to stop anyway. I think the general rule of thumb from an analytical standpoint there is probably to take it behind or before the 2-minute warning, making sure that you have potentially more time on the clock. But as a coach, I can understand wanting to maybe hold on to the ones that you actually have control over a little bit more. R. Smith 30. Gary didn't just get pressure. He was schemed open. Not just counting on him winning one-on-one, but designing pass to the quarterback. Mandalorian voice, this is the way. Yes, we saw. I know somebody was calling out for more Rashawn Gary lined up over center. I said they did. They actually did it last week. They did. It didn't amount to much, but Green Bay clearly tried it again this week, and it had a lot more success. He got the 1 sack. It sounds like the offensive tackle fell down. I didn't get to see the replay of that one, but I know people on Twitter were saying that the offensive tackle fell down on the play. But overall, I thought Rashawn had a much more impactful game. That's what I'm looking for. So excited to watch him on the All-22 this week to see how he overall performed. Baby QB boy, was Matt LaFleur testy, attentive at the presser, saying how he doesn't love being compared to Favre and not so many words. Wow. I didn't take it that way, Baby QB. I'll have to go listen to it again. I listened to it live. I thought he was more kind of just saying like, because the question was posed as like, hey, this is probably one more for the talking heads, but like, and then kind of compared him to Favre and Rodgers, or at least Favre in that situation. And I thought he was just kind of giving it back and saying like, yeah, that way, yes, we need to cut down on the interceptions. And then that way, the talking heads like you won't keep comparing them to Brett Favre or things like that. I thought it was more of like a funny back and forth, but I didn't get to see him. So maybe it looked more testy based on how he looked at it. I don't know. But when I first heard it, I didn't take it as a testy exchange. I took it as more of a, I'm giving it back to you because you were kind of saying it in this way sort of way, but I could be totally wrong on that. Puerto Rican Packer, a 1250 super chat. I think that's the first 1250 super chat I've ever seen. Gut reaction without your grades, assuming both are healthy and you could only choose one. Would you start Eric Wilson or Quay Walker going forward? Oh, man, I don't know. Not a Quay guy. I think most people know that. I'm interested to see if like Quay misses a game next week, and I hope he's back. I hope he's back healthy, obviously. But if he does miss a game next week, I'm interested to look at how Green Bay deploys their linebackers in that situation and how they play without Quay. I don't know. My gut answer to this is that I trust the Packers to make that decision. And it may look in real time like Quay's impact is of the negative variety, but whether it's him calling in the plays or doing certain things, like it could be that, Quay's put in some tough positions and looks poor, but like some of the stuff he's doing is actually setting up his teammates for success. There could be a layer to it. Do I think that's really the case? No. Do I think Quay needs to be better? Yes. Do I also feel super comfortable of just like, yep, now Eric Wilson is that guy? Not entirely, although I did think he had a great game today. I don't know. Like I said, my answer here is I trust Green Bay and Matt LaFleur, and especially Jeff Hafley on the defensive side, to make the call to put the right person in that position. And if they feel that's Quay, then I trust that that's Quay. Kind of how I look at it. All right. I'm going to take a drink of my Kickstart really quick because I'm losing my voice here. Give me a second. Oh, God, that's good. That is not an ad, by the way. That is just me enjoying every second of that Kickstart. All right. What other questions we got here? Put Quay at the Sam or weak side linebacker, start Cooper and Wilson with him. So in 4-3, there is a little bit more of a Sam and a weak in a true middle linebacker. All right. They don't play a ton of base. It's like 8 to 9 snaps a game. If you want to do anything with that, be my guest. More often than not, in the nickel, there's 2 interchangeable linebackers, and they're both asked to do very similar stuff. They're not switching alignment. If the tight end moves from one side to the other, makes it strong or weak, they're not switching. They're both being asked to do a lot of the same stuff. So we're talking maybe about 3 to 4, or maybe not 3 to 4, maybe 7 to 8 snaps per game where you could change that up to. I think that ultimately matters all that much. No, their 4-3 stuff has actually been pretty good. There hasn't been a major issue there. So, yeah. I don't think that's the answer. I think you just have to have these linebackers step up and play to the best of their ability, specifically Quay. Felt the absence of Quay really showed his value with him out. We struggled to stop the run. Did the Texans make a mistake not running more? That is actually something, Slim, that I'm very interested to take a look back when we get to the All-22. I did feel like you could feel a little bit at times of Quay's presence not being there. I'm legitimately saying this. I was about to say for better or worse, but I legitimately felt like it felt like at times that you saw maybe just a little bit of a gap there. I don't know. definitely one I want to look a little bit back more when we get to the all 22 this week and see how did they fill that spot once he was out, and how did the run defense look, and were people filling their gaps appropriately and things like that. It did feel like it got a little bit disjointed when Quay went out at times, but Eric also made some really big plays too. So just have to look at it a little bit closer. I think Love's risky plays partly due to ego from the huge contract pressure to meet expectations. Not ego for sure. Definitely not that. Maybe pressure of expectations. Yeah, I talked about that a little bit. I think that could maybe be a part of that, but yeah, we'll see. Andy, how did your son enjoy his first game at Lambeau? Hope you had an awesome time. He had a blast. It was a ton of fun. So yes, thank you very much for that. I think Matt LaFleur was trying to be too fancy today with the reverse plays. Like I said earlier, I think they probably saw, Ayuk had a bad injury. That's not good for them if that's the case. I think they probably saw something on tape, right? And overall, their reverse game has been very strong for them this year. Their end arounds, their reverses, their pitch plays, all of that stuff has worked really well. Houston was clearly prepared for it, and they were all over it. And I think sometimes too, like, you don't always call reverse plays to expect a huge gain out of it. Sometimes you call reverse plays like that to stretch the defense. And all of a sudden, maybe the linebackers are taking an extra little half step to each of their sides just in case, so they don't get outflanked. And then all of a sudden, the middle of the field opens up a little bit more. So there's also a part of like, we want to stretch you vertically. We want to stretch you horizontally. We want to get your safeties taking steps back. We want to get your linebackers taking steps out. And then we want to be able to run it right down your throat. So you're also trying to set up some stuff. It didn't work. None of it really worked. The outside stuff didn't work. And then trying to come back inside. It worked a little bit at the beginning of the drive in the second half, but overall, again, just couldn't really quite find that right formula. And give Houston's defense a lot of credit. Just watching it live, I thought they were awesome. I thought they were really, really awesome in this game. And DeMeco Ryans is a hell of a defensive coach. Like, we probably didn't talk about it enough. The Ryans LaFleur matchup. That's we talked about the Vikings Packers one, right? With Flores and LaFleur. Like, this is right there with it. Like, Ryans is a really good defensive mind, and I thought he was all over Matt on a huge chunk of today. Weird question. How is parking at Lambeau? I know how to get out. I've been doing this for years, guys. I know how to get out of Lambeau in a millisecond. So I always do street parking, and I've never once been in the parking lot at Lambeau for a game that I've gone to. So I know how to get out of there in milliseconds at this point. So I don't know, but finding parking was fine, and getting out was totally fine. Also, big thing today, first touchdown reception for Josh Jacobs. Hell yeah. Finally got it. I'll be there for the 49ers game. Love it. Love it. So yeah, it just depends on how you want to do it, J. Cole, but there's a variety of different ways to find easy parking around Lambeau. All right. Other questions. Anders Carlson, 2 for 2. Remember, what's his face? Greg Joseph started really good too, and then it kind of just all went downhill from there. What do I think about McManus? I think that he made his game-winning field goal today, and I'm very happy that he did. And all the other stuff, I don't know how to judge, as I've said earlier this week. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. The best way to get in and out of Lambeau, in my opinion, is to ask my grandpa for a ride. I love that. Is this open to everyone? Hit us up in the chat with where we can get your grandpa's number. So if we need him, we can call him. It sounds like some bad injuries today. That's brutal for the 49ers. All right. Watching Rodgers and Devontae tonight is either going to be magical or depressing. Hope they still have that connection. It'll be really fun to watch in one way or the other, right? I talked about this with Carmen earlier in the week of like, first of all, watching Aaron and Devontae together is always fun. Like, those two are just on a different level together. But if you are anti-Aaron Rodgers, well, then you've got a really interesting team to cheer against, right? Like, you're tuning in to cheer against them. If you are pro Aaron Rodgers, now you get to watch him play with Devontae Adams again. And if you don't have a horse in the fight one way or the other, well, now again, they're 2-4. They're like, the entire Jets organization is on the line the remainder of this year. They put a ton into this season, and it's going to be a drama in real time of like, can they get out of a 2-4 hole? Like, if they lose tonight, they go to 2-5. Like, either way, this is going to be, I think, this is like a soap opera, right? The Jets, like, this is a soap opera with New York. Love them, hate them, anything in between. It just feels like you're going to watch something that is going to be interesting, if nothing else. So I'm all in on it. Tackles got beat a couple times. I thought overall, they minimized the impact of Hunter and Anderson. Like those guys are going to get a couple every game. But so yeah, they got beat a couple times, but I thought overall the offensive line did a good job, at least at first glance in pass pro. Run game, again, needs to get going a little bit more. Andy, what did you think of Half's plan today? Saw some Minnesota stuff, I think. I thought it was awesome. Just aggressive, attacking, double A-gap blitzes, bringing McKinney off the side. Not a ton that we've seen a lot of this stuff already from Halfley, so it wasn't like he was reinventing the wheel out there, but I just thought it was nonstop, especially in advantageous third down situations. They were not letting their foot off the gas, and you can tell right now they trust their defensive backfield. You do not bring those blitzes if you don't trust your defensive backfield. They trusted Jair and Nixon and Bullard and Williams and McKinney to take care of stuff on the back end if they were going to blitz. And they blitzed, and the guys on the back end took care of things, and it was fun to watch. All right, amazing run or train wreck for the Jets. No ifs, ands, buts, or in-betweens. I think that's probably true. Johnny W., good to see you. Thanks for being a member. And yes, very much. Go Pack, go. Only 9% of teams have won games with a -3 turnover differential since 2002. Packers dominated them on a play-to-play basis. Just needed to clean up the mistakes. Yeah, I was thinking back to the Eagles game, right? Because the Packers only won the turnover battle in the Eagles game by 2, but they won by 2 in that game. And you're thinking like, man, you don't lose many games when you like win the turnover battle by 2. And this one, Houston won it by 3 and they lost. It is a very rare occurrence. And again, Green Bay kind of kicked their own ass for a decent part of this one, and they got to figure out a way to be a bit more disciplined in a variety of different ways. Those 2 offsides penalties by Inigbari and Preston Smith were maddening. Obviously, some of the special teams punt return stuff was maddening. The interception down the field was maddening. Like, there was definitely enough stuff in this game that was making you pull your hair out. I totally get that. But you know what? They still found a way to pull it together. There's a lot of really good stuff in between the bad stuff, and it was enough where the good stuff outweighed the bad stuff, and you got a 2-point win out of it against a very, very good football team. All right. I don't think last year's defense wins us this game. Love needs to get it together if we want to win the division soon. All right. Again, I don't have any major long-term concern with Love here. I think I very much believe we're making too much out of, again, the first pick, tipping my cap to the defense. The second one's the one that you can't happen. You had one really bad decision in this one. One bad decision against a very good defense and an awesome defensive mind on a play. It was very pressured on the play. I don't think we have the makings of oh my God. I know he's thrown some other ones. The decision on the pick 6 was a really rough one. And there've been a couple, right? I totally get the one last week though. Not his fault, not his fault at all. I think we're making too much out of this. I don't think we have any sort of ridiculous pattern yet. I really don't. Really, really don't. Johnny W coming in hot. Big win today. Even with the mistakes, we looked great. Yeah. I don't know that I would say that Green Bay looked great in this one. I think they looked good enough to win. I thought there was some stuff, like I said, I thought there was some stuff that looked really good in this game. The defense for a huge chunk of the game looked really good at first glance. I thought special teams, the punting was awesome. Punt coverage was awesome. Obviously making the game-winning field goal, coming up with a game-winning offensive drive at the end. 3 nice touchdowns by the offense, including a big play to Ontavian Wicks and a huge throw to Tucker Kraft. Like, there was some really good stuff, but still too many mistakes in all phases. So I don't know if I would go great yet, but a lot of really positive things that you can take away and some clear things that Matt LaFleur and the coaching staff can point to of like, guys, we got to do better here, but good enough to win against a very good team in the Houston Texans. All right, friends, I am going to get out of here shortly. Any final questions? New York Cheesehead is here. Good evening, fellow Cheeseheads. Victory Sunday. Got to get your Luigi's Pizza, everyone. Jeff Halfley deserves a game ball as well. He did get a game ball. If I remember, if I heard Matt correctly, I think he said Jeff got a game ball. Do you ever bet on the Packers or football in general? I don't. I don't really. It's not anything like I'm ultra against. I've done a little bit over time. I just usually realize that I'm making donations more than bets when it comes to that stuff. And it's just, I don't know. Like, do I think like there's certain times, like if there's a game on maybe where I'm like, oh, there's like a big game on, but I like, and maybe I just want a little bit more stakes on it or something like that. Like maybe I'll do it from time to time, or every once in a while, I'll just have like a unbelievable feel on a game. I'm like, I know for a fact that this team is winning. Like, I'm going to make a bet on this one. Like, I'll do that. And usually those have actually turned out to be right. But then like, I don't know. And then I usually just get like, once I win that first one where I'm like, I know this team's going to win. And then I'm right. And I'm like up by whatever amount. And I'm just like, all right, let's keep doing this. And like, let's just let it go. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, my initial investment, not only did I lose that winnings, but also the initial investment after that. So I don't know. I haven't done it for, probably 2-3 years now. Never like an issue where I like lost anything major or anything like that. But it was like more of just like, well, usually how I did it is I would always put in like, I don't know, maybe like $250, $300 at like the beginning of the season and be like, I'm going to lose this. Like, I am going to lose this money. I fully understand that, but this is my $300 that I get to have fun with and put like little bets on through the course of the year. So I'd usually start the season with that. And I would never really go outside of that. But eventually every year I would usually lose the $300. So I kind of just am like, wow, like why? Like, yes, there's little games here and there that are more fun, but I'm just ending up donating it in the end. So for the last 2 to 3 years, I haven't really done anything like that, but I'm sure I probably will at some point again, because why the heck not? All right. Good question though. All right, Ben, I've watched enough football to know that I'd be good, but also know that these games are very, very volatile. I know. Are we talking about betting still? I don't know if that was a betting thing or not. J Love will probably throw over 40 touchdowns and 15 to 17 interceptions. That could sound about right, J. Cole. AI remains undefeated. They are 7-0. It is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's stupid. It's very, very stupid. They we'll see if they can go 8-0 this week. There's a good chance, by the way, they go 8-0, right? Because they picked Green Bay over Jacksonville. So they'll be probably 8-0 going into that Lions game. Hopefully they beat Jacksonville this week. That would be very disappointing if you beat Houston and lose to Jacksonville. But Jacksonville has been not a great place for Green Bay to play over the years. And Jacksonville did get a little bit of a momentum builder with a win over New England this morning. So we'll see. But a 2-game stint in London and now having to return back home to Jacksonville. We'll see what kind of condition Jacksonville's in that game. A little bit of a trap game. If we talk about trap games too, right? Like Houston's a big time fight. And then the following game is going to be Detroit. So like that Jacksonville one on the road, noon game, that has trap game written all over it. I already have my sausage and mushroom Luigi's pizza for tomorrow in the freezer. What are we waiting for, bro? I guess a Victory Monday pizza, but you could have a Victory Sunday pizza. There's nothing wrong with a Victory Sunday pizza. So just, something to consider there, Brett. I remember being in Jacksonville when the Saints, we don't want to talk about that game, man. That was brutal. Run defense was up and down. Just got to be more consistent. Yeah, there were definitely some really good plays on run defense too, but too many bad ones. Awesome. Just awesome show, man. New fun 5356. I appreciate that a lot. It is fun to talk about these things every day. I'm excited to talk tomorrow on the Pack-A-Day radio show, which still feels surreal to say, on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, The Fan in Milwaukee. You can check that from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. tomorrow. Peter Bukowski will be on tomorrow. We've got great guests this week. We've got Peter Bukowski, Maggie Loney, Camille Davis, Paul Brettel, and Andrew Mertag coming up on the radio show this week. So that's going to be a ton of fun. We've got our usual string of guests all throughout the week this week, including Nathan and Tyler that I'll be recording with at 8 p.m. tonight. If you are a Pack-A-Day member, that show will be up later tonight. If you are not, it'll be up at 5 a.m. tomorrow. So another great reason to sign up to become a member, because you're going to get early access to every single video. You're going to get the extra video with Aaron Nagler and I every week, about 4 extra episodes from Ross Uglum every single week. Trust me, it's worth it. It's what, $3.99, I think, $3.99 to sign up for a monthly subscription. Just do it. So easy. We're almost to 500 too. And you're supporting a great channel, of course, with a ton of awesome people. So go sign up. How many more memberships do we need to 500? Let's see. See what we got here. Let's see if we picked up any today. If we lost any today. Let's see where we're at. Memberships. We are at 489. We are 11 away from 500 at the moment. So we are getting there. I made chicken wings on the smoker today. Brett, I appreciate the super chat, and I hope your chicken wings were delicious. I would love some chicken wings on the smoker. Sign up today. Worth it. Johnny W. I appreciate that. Packers, Vikings, and Lions all tied up in the division. That is not true, Matthew Harris. The Packers have one more loss than the Vikings and the Lions. So Vikings and Lions each have one loss. Packers have 2. Unfortunately, not quite there yet. But Chicago now alone in last simply because they had a bye week this week, which is crazy. The division is stupid insane. All right, friends. Should we get out of here? Brandon Ayuk is officially out with a knee injury. Not expected when you get carted off. All right, I'm going to get the Camille Davis gut reaction video uploaded here in just a moment. As I mentioned, Tyler, Nathan, and I will be back tomorrow morning. I believe, let me get you the rundown. I have to look at my own calendar because my calendar is insane to see what we have for this week coming up. Give me 1 second. So we have this week, our members Q&A is going to be noon on Tuesday this week. So members Q&A, noon on Tuesday. We will have Pack-A-Day Live, 7 p.m. on Wednesday, and then happy hour, 4 p.m. on Friday. So happy hour and Pack-A-Day Live, same per usual. Members Q&A, noon on Tuesday of this week is the plan right now. Of course, card is subject to change per AEW and WWE rules. But as of right now, that is the current plan. You guys are the absolute best. Enjoy the rest of your Victory Sunday. I will see you tomorrow morning for Victory Monday with Nathan and Tyler. Camille Davis gut reactions coming up. I'm going to upload them as soon as we are done here. So make sure to check that out. I love Camille's gut reactions every single time. And we just got B Brown coming in with 5 new Pack-A-Day podcast memberships for 5 people in chat. B Brown, appreciate that a ton. That means we are 6 away from 500, which is absolutely amazing. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Go get those Luigi's Victory pizzas. I will see you soon. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.